On today's episode, we're going to talk about business ownership
versus 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, I stole your line there. This is what it would be like if Stacey had to work a 9 to 5 and somebody could tell her what to do.
It wouldn't go over very well. Just saying.
Let's dissect ownership versus 9 to 5.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Caffeine and Ambition, hosted by the Cinder Sisters. I'm Stacey.
And I'm Megan. And what we are here to do on our podcast is tell you about business, life, families, essentially everything that we do, we want to share with you because we have a lot of self-confidence. We've learned a lot of self-confidence over the years.
We sure have.
And we want to share that with you. We want to show you how.
Let's do this.
Okay, so obviously we started off with a job. We didn't have a business when we were little. That's not necessarily true, but I'll ask that question later.
Okay.
So as a 9 to 5, as starting in as a teenager, when we started a job, what was your first job? Like, do you remember the first few things that you did?
Yeah, absolutely. First was babysitting.
Oh,
of course, I think a lot of kids my age, girls mostly, were babysitters. That's what you did. And then I did house cleaning for a little bit. That was awful. Yeah.
So you wouldn't go back to that one?
No. Not babysitting either. That's not my jam.
That's fair. That's fair. What did I do? Do you remember when Mom worked one of the quilt places that she worked at, and the husband had a hair studio?
Oh my gosh, I forgot
like
about that.
So it was working for cash because I don't remember what age I was, but
yeah,
she was going
small.
to work. Yeah. So I remember stocking shelves. And I do technically count that as my first job.
Well, yeah, because you were working.
I was working, but a weird job. Did not anything I wanted to do. I think it was more just because I had to go with her. So what was I going to do other than stand around and stare at her the entire time?
Yeah.
And then, real job. I think here, like in the seamstress department, was my first actual job. It was a long time ago. I didn't change jobs much until I left the country.
Yeah, then you changed jobs a lot, yeah.
Then I changed a lot. Okay, so do you think Mom had jobs after a time? Because when she raised us, she was at home.
Yeah, Mom, like from the time Mom had kids. So there's 3 of us. So by the time Mom had all of us, stayed at home and then raised us and babysat so that, to bring in some extra cash.
And she started working.
How old were you? Yeah,
I was pretty young because I remember she bought me that book, that Bernstein Bears book about the mom going to work and the kid had to adjust to the mom going to work. That was me.
That was mom trauma right there, Meg trauma.
I was a little attached.
Yeah.
I remember that, but I was pretty little. Like I want to say 8 and I could be wrong. But so she went back to a job.
I think you were a little bit older than that because I almost feel like I would have been like 12 or something like that. I think I would have been, or maybe I went into high school or something, so like 14. Anyways, yes. So then Mom went on to a few jobs, not that many.
No, not that many. And they were all in the same kind of area. It was all sewing, quilting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She didn't hop around too much. But before she went back into the workforce, and Dad just had that steady job that he had, and that was what you did, and he worked from the time he started till the time he ended, and he hated it, and it was just what you did.
Yes.
That was how life was.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the reasons that we have a slight negative bias against the 9 to 5. I think that may have pushed us a little closer to doing our own thing because he was so unhappy.
It's a really good point.
With what he had to do. It wasn't a 9 to 5. I think it was like a 7 to 3 or whatever his hours were. I don't remember. But he hated the commute. He hated the job. He didn't hate the job. He hated working with the people that he worked with or for the people that he worked with.
Yeah.
I feel like that might have impacted us a little bit.
Never thought of it until now that you said it. Now I feel like, yeah, probably. Also, though, our family are slight workaholics. The other side of the family is slight workaholics.
I mean, you have to say that Dad was too, even though he had like a proper 9 to 5 kind of job, growing up on a farm essentially, chickens and that kind of thing. Like it was we
were homesteaders. Like we were like homesteaders before homesteading was cool. That's what we did. So yeah, you're right. Like he'd come home, get changed into outside clothes and go do whatever needed to be done. The shoveling, the gardening, the whatever, the chickens, the whatever it was that night. The wood, oh my gosh.
Because we only had a wood stove. We didn't have a furnace.
Nope.
It was chopping wood all the time. So yeah, it was pretty constant. We saw a lot of constant work growing up.
Yeah.
No downtime. All your downtime was put into your house or your home.
Yep.
And taking care of the things. I assume that was a part of their dream, to have that house in the country and do all the wood cutting and the wood furnace and the homesteading.
Yeah.
I hope it was. because we did that for a good 20 years.
That's a long time of doing that.
But so we watched them work their butts off forever and ever.
Yeah.
Really good work ethic, not just from them, but from our grandparents as well.
Yeah, they live not too far away. Like, they live close enough that they could drive the tractor that we shared back and forth to each other's houses when one would need the tractor for log splitting for the garden, for whatever it was that we were doing, hauling logs out of the bush. Wow, we lived a really interesting life, didn't we?
Interesting childhood.
Now I swear we own a bridal business. Complete change of life right there.
Well, and that's sort of what I'm trying to relate it to. That's they didn't own a business.
No.
But they were always doing something.
True.
They were always busy. They always, not just with the house, but with something exterior. And by the time they never overlapped in a job. One was always home. Because by the time Mom went back to work, that's when Dad stayed home.
Correct.
But she always had, like, she would do the quilts for other people outside of her job.
I forgot she did that. Yes, that's
right.
So
I think maybe it's just that we don't remember our childhood and we block a lot of things and don't ever think about them or talk about them until I sit here with a microphone on and now realize
we spew it to the world of like, this is all my trauma.
It's not trauma.
This is why we work so much.
This is why we're workaholics.
Yes.
We watched a lot of workaholics. It's not trauma.
Welcome to Therapy 101 with the Cinder Sisters.
So I feel like we were predisposed to own our own business. I think that's where my brain is getting at with this conversation.
Fair.
Because they never, one of them severely disliked it.
Yeah.
What he did. And then by the time our mom went back into the workforce, she loved what she did. Because she's always liked sewing. She's always been good at it. It was something she enjoyed. Again, I have to assume this is through the rose-colored lenses of a child.
True.
But we saw them go through those pieces, not necessarily love what they do, which isn't uncommon. Like, I'm not saying this is uncommon, that it's something that they experienced that other people didn't. I feel like there's a lot of people don't love their job. People go through life doing what they're supposed to do with a job. So there's obviously other kids who see that. But that combined with the taking care of the chickens and the wood and the always having the wood stove and always doing something and watching the exterior passions of those people, I think all of that combined, that we were not necessarily ever going to grow up and have a 9-to-5.
Good point. Now look at us.
How many more businesses can we add? That's about where we're at.
I don't think we need any more. Although we did talk about another one last week.
I feel like we may have talked about another one this morning.
I think we did.
Workaholic has a downside.
I also don't think that's where I couldn't do a 9-to-5 job because there isn't a passion to it. And I think that's really, really important just in life. Like when you get to the end of your life, I want to be like, I had the most awesome job that was highs and lows and everything in between. And I want to know, like, I want to live that ride. For me, that's important. I know some people don't care, but for me, I want to be making a difference, doing something good. I don't know. I love the roller coaster.
I think a lot of people do, but a lot of people fit that into their exterior lives. They have their job, which funds their exterior.
Okay.
So they may not like what they do day to day. Right. But they'll take the time off and do the things that they want to do for their passion. I think a lot of people look at it that way, whereas we're like, let's make all of our time always the passion portion. Yeah. Which is a little bit unrealistic in the sense that there are lots of things that I don't love to do, like talk to the government and that kind of thing. And running a business, you have to do that. So all of the little bits of not wanting to do kind of just creep into every day, but in little bits instead of a 9-to-5 8-hour chunk.
What's your biggest plus side of owning a business?
To ownership. I think you touched on it briefly. One of the biggest pluses would have to be the flexibility. Flexibility is a plus and a minus in itself. Yeah. I don't create consistency in myself or in my life because I have the flexibility to not do it. If I was forced to keep more consistent with things, then I probably would. But I'm extremely erratic, probably because I have the flexibility to do whatever I need at any given time, or go pick up the kids, or go home and get the dog, or do this. And you talked about showings and that kind of thing for selling a house. There are so many things that have impacted us in our personal lives over the course of the last 20 years or however long it's been of ownership. And we let those impact our daily life because we can. Yeah, fair. So if we couldn't, it's not that it wouldn't work. Everybody figures out a way to make it work. But the flexibility gives me the ability to not have to be consistent.
Oh, I always thought it was a great thing. Now that you say that like that, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I don't stay consistent, do I?
Still, you asked me what one of my biggest plus sides was. I am telling it as a plus side. I love the flexibility of it.
It's both. It's a plus, but it's also a downfall, I guess, in a way. Yeah, all right.
Am I inconsistent because we have that flexibility? Probably. Yeah. Do I enjoy the flexibility? Yes, of course. I would not enjoy getting a phone call from the school and one of the kids is sick and then having to pass it by somebody else that I have to leave.
But you kind of pass it by me. You're like,
as I'm on my way into the door.
Exactly. I'm leaving to get the children.
As I'm packing up my laptop, and you're like, "What are you doing?" I'm leaving. I'll see you tomorrow.
Fair.
Yes, one of the biggest plus sides I would still say is flexibility.
Okay.
The ability to do what I choose.
I'm going to mark that as both the downfall and an upside.
Fair enough. The way I explained it, I understand. What's your biggest plus?
The ability to dream and like bring it to my boss's desk and drop it and be like, I think that we should do this. Let's go buy a castle in Europe. And my boss doesn't say to me, get out of my office.
Get out of my office. Who let you in here?
I'm not taking this for the 5th day in a row, Stacey. Please do not come in here with another idea. I think that's my biggest plus.
I would love to know what 9 to 5 you would have. That was your job, to come in here with any crazy scenario you can make up. You know what we need? We need Stacey from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to tell us all of the things that we could do. And I'd love that to be
possible. A job. You know what's really, be great?
Do you know what people are doing right now?
I just saw this TikTok. Like, are you on TikTok again on business time?
You're supposed to be working.
Yeah, I don't think I do super well.
Yes, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I would count that as one of mine as well. The ability to choose.
Yeah.
Which I guess, and then that's kind of what I was getting at, flexibility too. Like most of the points were that we can come and go as we please and make our time as we please. And I do, except when everybody needs me. When somebody has a question, it's not my time.
No, exactly.
That person has a question, and I don't know how many notifications I'll have on my phone of all the questions that everybody will have when we're done this podcast.
A lot. She has a lot already. I looked at her phone before we started this, and there's a lot on there. Yeah.
So sometimes it's not always flexible. It's on somebody else's time because I am reachable by everybody and have the answers that everybody needs. But dreaming would be a huge one as well, because if we can create what we need to in this space, then we can create another space and then another space. And how many things can we have? How many things can we do? How much can we give back? Are we going to get to the point where we can do this? Yeah. I think you created that in me.
Yeah, because you were definitely more rigid when we started, for sure. Like, I think my role was more often given to me when we started all this insanity. And now most of the time it's a head nod of, okay, I think we could make that work.
Okay, let me process that.
Yay! Until we start to do it, and then I get cold feet, and then I'm like, no, maybe we shouldn't.
Once I've committed, we're not stopping.
No, we're not stopping. And then the freight train is insane. It's insane. And I'm like, I just don't think we should. And then we do it, and it's great.
I would have to say, though, that the eye roll must still be there, because one of the girls, when I was talking to her the other day, and it was through text, and she said something, and then she said she knew that it was something that I was either not going to agree with, or I had to approve money or something. She knew that it was something that I was not going to be like, absolutely, let's do that. So she'd send me the text, and then right afterwards she said, I can feel your eye roll.
It's not just to me.
And I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that bad. It's hard too, though, because when you're creating your business and your structure, I can't say that our structure is similar to many other businesses that we have known or like worked with.
Yeah.
We're very lax.
Yeah.
On a lot of things.
Yeah.
We are friends with the people that are around us.
Which we've been told many times is not a good business model. But you know what? That's one thing I would never have changed in anything that we've done, because it makes me enjoy our workplace so much more, and the people, and I feel better because I guess that's another a win for owning your own business, is the people that you get to help along the way. And I think that's extremely important, that you can bring the village with you, because I don't care to go by myself on this ride. I think that would be lonely and really boring. So I love that we're bringing everybody with us. So yes, has it probably taken us longer to get where we're going? Probably, yeah.
Some people get really far really fast because they step on other people. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just don't care to. I want everybody to come with us. And so I think that makes the ride much more enjoyable for everyone and the workplace much more enjoyable.
So what are some of the biggest downsides?
Working 24/7. For me, my brain never shuts off, and it's very difficult to shut it off because there'll just be something like we could be sitting on a beach in Mexico, which I would never do because I can't handle that. I would lose my mind. But I can't sit still
long enough to enjoy a beach on Mexico.
No, not at all. So, but just let's say I was sitting on a beach in Mexico, there would be something that would come up in a shell, and I'd look at the shell and be like, "That's a great idea for something. Oh my gosh, we should do that." And then have to write it down, and have to look at it, and have to think about it, and then we would start this whole like chain of reaction of things. And it's just it never turns off. It never stops.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Remember the flexibility that I talked about, where it creates lack of consistency and lack of time management.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where it leads into that.
Yeah.
Because we don't shut off.
No.
I will not stop. That's not true. I've done much better lately at shutting off for certain periods of time because I need to spend time with my kids.
Yep.
And I am trying very hard to be present in those moments. And then as soon as they are distracted, I am thinking about work again.
Yeah.
So I struggled greatly with me time that isn't me with my kids or me with the business.
Yeah.
That would be one of my biggest downsides, that I've lost anything that is exterior to those.
Okay.
I'm not saying it because I regret it. I'm just saying it as in the sense of, if you ask, nothing bothers me more than those questions or quizzes or whatever those things are where they're like, define yourself, and you're not allowed to define who you are. And you're not allowed to talk about that you're a mother or what you do for a job, those kinds of things. And I'm like, but I can't. You know what? I don't like this. We're not doing this.
We're not doing this anymore. Turn that off. Turn it off.
Delete. Send to Stacy.
Stacy. I'm better at that now. But it's only taken me like the last 2 years where I've actually been able to shut up. But also my kids are much older than my ex-kids, except for one of them. So it's a little bit easier for me to actually find this thing called me time, which I didn't know anything about until a few years ago. So
it's a long track back to me time. I mean, we also combined family and business. So it extended all of that. Yeah. The wrapping those two things in together, it extended that greatly. But I'm happy to hear that you're finding a way back to that, because it gives me hope that in another 5 to 10 years, I might be able to get there.
No, I think you just need to start sooner and just do it. Less business time.
I love business.
I know you do. Do I have to kick you out for a few
crying
days?
About business.
Exactly. Get out of the office. Mandatory no mag day.
It's hard to shut off. It's like one of our babies.
Yeah. It's our first baby before our actual babies.
Yeah. I have to make sure that I'm actually making time for that's one-on-one kid time. Mm-hmm. I don't like to neglect business either. Mm-hmm. Love it. Love doing it. Mm-hmm. Love the dreaming of it.
Yeah. And I guess that's what it is. I guess that would be my biggest takeaway, advice, tip, whatever you want to call it. You have to do something you absolutely love, you're passionate about something if you're going to be in business. Because if not, it would be so hard to try and make it through all of the ups, the downs, the things that you have to push aside. Because there are things you have to push aside in order to stay late one night. You're going to have to miss things or something. Like, it just is. It's part of it. But if you're passionate about it, it's worth it.
It was dramatically difficult to make it through the early stages of business and the early stages of childbearing. Yeah. Child rearing. Yeah. It was extremely difficult through those years. Yeah. It's still difficult now. Mine are still young. And there are days where yours need more than other days, even though they're older. It is exceptionally hard. Yeah. So choosing to own your own business, it takes dedication. It takes 24/7, a lack of you, a loss of you. Mm-hmm. You have to be committed to doing it. I think you're right. The only way that you would be committed enough is if it's something that you love. Yeah. Something you are extremely passionate about.
But I think the nice thing is, because we've gotten to that other side of it, it's so worth it.
I completely agree. I would never give it up. And it's not a negative.
No.
I've never had someone ask me about business or starting a business or ownership that I would never tell somebody not to. Never. But I will stress the hardships of it so that you know going in, be prepared. Mm-hmm. But 100%, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, agree.
So what's our wrap up? Would you do it again?
In a heartbeat.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like
I would do things a little differently.
Okay, fair. What would you change?
I would hire smarter people sooner.
Yes. Do you remember when we started reading things about the owners should never be the smartest people in the room?
Yeah.
We're the ones that take the risk.
Yep.
But we need, remember how many times during this podcast I've said I have no consistency? We have people who have consistency.
Yes. Almost everybody else on the team is extremely consistent, which is phenomenal because that's how everything gets done around here.
Yeah.
I would 100% hire people smarter people than us, faster in the things that we can't do.
The people that cover our weaknesses.
Correct.
Which, I mean, you have to put that above that, then we would have to be self-reflective enough earlier to have realized what our strengths and weaknesses were.
Yeah,
Because
right.
guaranteed we went in at one point thinking that it would be easy peasy lemon squeezy. It was stressy lemon depressy.
Yeah, it sure was.
Threw that at you there.
That's awesome. Because it was most of the time. Yeah.
It was.
Anyways.
But if we had understood our weaknesses and understand what we were like, if we had done the work earlier on to know what we needed to be, what we needed to learn ahead of time, we would have at least been, we wouldn't have been so behind.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not saying that
That's
we would
fair.
have trained and like learned and gone to school and done those things. We never would have gone that far. That's not who we are.
No, not at all.
We're where we are because of who we are. And I don't regret any of the things that we've done. But being a little further ahead of the game on certain decisions and having the people around us that could support those decisions earlier would have been a lot easier.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So have your support system.
Yep.
Have your village.
Love what you do.
Love what you do.
Yeah.
Passion.
Passionate.
Yeah. Create your passion and find a way to incorporate you in all of it.
Yep.
So you don't burn out, because we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
So let us know, what do you think is the first one, like the top for you, either of the four that we listed, or what has been the biggest impact for you, the pluses, the minuses on your growth, on your business.
Until next time, everybody.